3 months. And it was one of my students in school who was the hostess, and she introduced me, or reintroduced me, to her cousin, sales director Patricia Boat from Charlestown, Indiana. Oh, they don't know they're supposed to be on stage. Oh, hang on. Well, I'll just tell you stories while they are all out there in the hallway. What do you all think? No, not really. But you guys, how many of you right now, while we're waiting on them, I'm talking about your heart. I'm not talking about emotions. I'm just talking about from your heart. You know that you're walking out of your day a different person than you were when you walked in. You know that you're a different person than when you walked in. Well, that in itself is worth everything. You know, I tell people all the time, I would spend $85 or I'd spend $100 on a kid just to hang out with people in Mary Kay. But now, Kim, I'm going to quit saying that because you said that and that makes sense to me. But you guys, it's worth $100. So let's welcome our first director, Patricia Boat, Charlestown, Indiana. My very best friend in grade school, when I was a consultant like all of you, I called her to see if she would like to play Mary Kay with me, and she wasn't interested, but she said her sister Linda was. And Linda Mays came back into my life. I'd known her in the first grade, so it had been a while. But Linda came into my life, and she introduced me through a series of classes and business debuts to sales director Renee Hooker from Corbin, Kentucky. Consultants playing directors. So if you're thinking, that doesn't look like Linda's director, it's because we have a beautiful future leader in my national area who's playing the part. Linda also brought a guest to a meeting, and her name was Betty Bundy, sales director from Williamsburg, Kentucky. The only person in my school where I taught that would agree to help me with my Power Start was one of my fellow school teachers. Her name was Sandy Mullins. And through a series of parties that began with Sandy, I now have sales directors from one party. A series of parties brought me these folks. Sales director Vicki O'Bannon from Jeffersonville, Indiana, and her beautiful directors, Sandra Schiff, Lexington, Kentucky, Beth Landrick, Riverview, Florida, Susie Glaze Thomas, Seymour, Indiana, sales director Donna Bates, Pikeville, Kentucky, sales director Brendan James in Mitchell, Indiana. I would like for the far section of the room to please stand up. Everyone in the far section. And I would like for the back half of the second section to stand up. So you all kind of determine where half is. The back half of this room, I want you to stand up in that section. A few more rows. Okay. Now these ladies represent that many people. Okay? And I only talked to you about 3 appointments. Right there. Now, you all remain standing. I took a phone call. And by the way, if you are following me on Facebook, my public person page, Linda Toupin NSD, I train every day. And I actually showed you this week in my date book from the 80s and 90s where my whole area came from. I have every date book with every appointment circled, and you have a picture of it. You can use this for recruiting and training purposes. It's Linda Toupin NSD. Is that Facebook page. But one of the biggest Facebook focuses I had was what you're about to see next. It was a phone call from the Yellow Pages. Remember, Google with paper. And this woman needed some makeup. And Mary Kay taught me to do what I just taught all the consultants this afternoon. She said, you go and you facial her first. I didn't just mail her the product or deliver her the product. I went and facialed her and developed a relationship. And then she bought what she could afford. And then she wanted to earn the rest because she had a relationship with me. I went back a second time. And then she invited her church friends. And then they all loved me. And they all loved the product. And they wanted the product. And then that was all she needed to know to be able to see that she could build a business in a little bitty tiny town with just one stop sign, not a stoplight. From that one facial, I have Future Executive, Senior Sales Director, Sheila Schuler. Trip Running Director, Chapney Galfias. Multi-Petabyte Director, Terry Jessup. Sales Director, Christy Copa. Sales Director, Tammy Adams. Sales Director, Tabitha Pettit. Sales Directors, Jennifer Miller. Sales Director, Vonda the rest of the room to stand up. There's 2,200 of you in this room, and that's the number of people that this group of women represent right here. That's in my national area. 4 appointments. All right, you may be seated because we're not done yet. A crazy woman called me from the Yellow Pages. She said she'd been chasing pink Cadillacs. This story's on Facebook. She'd been chasing pink Cadillacs trying to catch it because she wanted to sell it. She walked in my house in a bright pink dress with bleached blonde hair and pink shoes. She was ready. And because of her contagious enthusiasm and love of Mary Kay, I now have, from Bonnyman, Kentucky, Sales Director Ada Gadberry, Happy Kentucky, Ola Wooten, Letcher, Kentucky, Cheryl Bradley, Knoxville, Tennessee, Mary Runyon, Knoxville, Tennessee, April Hensley, and Swanton, New Jersey, Terry Ann, Sales Directors. And with the far section of the room, stand back up again. Because that group represents that number of consultants. And then, I was smart. I'm a pretty smart chick. I knew that if I visited my mommy and daddy and did a Mary Kay appointment before when I got there and before I left, that I could write that trip off on my taxes. So it was a nice, sweet way to visit my folks down in London, Kentucky. And I met a gal in a gold store, and she's just super sweet, loved Mary Kay. We did a facial. She ended up becoming a consultant, and we had hostess contests. I've always done hostess contests. I've always focused on hostesses because they're the most important people in our lives, and I want to be in front of the most important people in your life, and Mary Kay, and that's your hostesses, and I still do that. That's still my strategy. And so, as a result, she brought her #1 hostess to a hostess awards, and this girl was so shy, she could not make eye contact with me, but she showed me the fire in her belly because she was my #1 hostess at that awards program. And today, she is an 8-time trip-winning future national sales director, Brenda Howe from London, Kentucky. And from that, we have sales director, London, Kentucky, Christy George, McKee, Kentucky, Ashley Cunningham, McKee, Kentucky, Misty Legs, Corbin, Kentucky, Lisa Ramsey, Winchester, Kentucky, sales director, Lori Settles, brand new sales director, Brittany Spears Wesley, sales director, Berea, Kentucky, Jana Brouillard, sales director, Berea, Kentucky, Patty Eaves, sales director, Owensboro, Kentucky, Mara Young, sales director, London, Kentucky, Shonda Durham, sales director, Barberville, Kentucky, Liz Daniels, and sales director, Flemingsport, Kentucky, Mary Jane Cooper. And now I would like for this section and this section to stand up. Brenda, that's your national area. I just wanted to share that with you just in case you wanted to know. And then when I was a brand new consultant, actually this appointment's on Facebook, a little girl in my class was 14 years old and she couldn't afford Mary Kay. To me, when I hear the words, I can't afford Mary Kay, that's a booking. That's a booking. That's what that is. That's a booking. That's when you should get really excited. And so she held a party, and she knew that she would get most hostess credit with 2 bookings, and as a result of that, there began a series of parties. And at every party, we were recruiting another person over a serious period of time, which led me to Charlestown, West Virginia, sales director Catherine Stewart, and St. Joe, Missouri, sales director Mary Hyatt. And then we have 3 sales directors who came from no's, from flat-out no's. They were referrals from someone who did not use the product. Well, I take that back. Misty did come from a class referral, but our very first referral was from Louisville, Kentucky, sales director Misty Pack. Our next sales director came from a referral. The woman wasn't interested, but like my video showed you today during my class, who do you know? And so my consultant was smart enough to say, who do you know? And it led us to Rhonda Spencer Morgan from Rogers, Kentucky. And my entire Indianapolis area drunk a flat-out ugly no. And I was too naive to know she was insulting me. But when she insulted me, I just said, "That's okay, who do you know?" And she said, "My daughter would probably love it." And as a result of that facial and what followed after it, we had all of Indianapolis. And would you please welcome Sales Director Natalie Vogler. And with this section of the room, stand back up. Now we're at 4,400 people that are represented by my sales directors on stage today. You all may be seated. But it doesn't end there. Just like a tree, just like a family tree, there is a trunk. And the trunk is where the roots are. And it doesn't matter how strong a storm is, if the roots are deep enough, it will withstand anything. I live in a 115-year-old historic home. It's where the Constitution for Indiana was signed. And out beside my house a few years ago was a tree larger. My house is 4 stories, 3 above ground, and the tree was larger than my house. And we had hurricane winds. Do y'all remember that? It's winds that don't stop blowing. I know in Miami you know what that means, but we don't. We have tornadoes. They just blow real fast and they're done. Well, hurricane winds came, and all of a sudden we were all in the house, and our entire house moved. And the tree leaned over on our house. We made the front page of the Gordon Democrat. I just want you to know that. But anyway, the tree moved. Took 2 major cranes to lift it up. It would have completely destroyed our home, but the root system, the tree was hollow. As it has aged, it had hollowed. And wouldn't you agree with, sometimes in our life we can get kind of hollow in the inside, but the roots were so deep in the ground that it held the tree from crashing my house. And that's how our business is. And the next group of women are my base unit. And they are 580 people strong. And they are an incredible master group of people. I want my consultants who are here today to stand for you to honor them. Would my unit please stand? Let's give them a big round of applause. And then I would like this entire section over here to stand back up, because this is my unit, my personal unit right here. You guys, it's kind of loud. You have no idea what you bought when you bought a box. A little box isn't going to make it, I don't think. I got 7 more years. It's just, I don't know if I can make it. I've traveled all over the world with it. It's the box I bought for $85. And I bought it on April 22nd. And 1982, and I thought I was buying some makeup. But God knew on April 22nd in 1982 that I would need what was in the box on May 24th, 2011. In a 1-minute email at 10:34 p.m., I lost a 32-year relationship and marriage that I didn't see coming. And I had no idea when I bought the box that I would need the box on May 24th. And because I had a box, I had become a different person. And I had become a person of influence. And it had given me confidence to do things I didn't think was possible. And because of that, and that story is really a good ending. I have a great relationship with him still, and we have amazing children. I'll just flat out tell you right now, we made good babies. We made great babies, and my daughter's singing comes from her daddy, and so I'm very grateful for that. Guys, there's no room in your life for bitterness. There's no room in your life for bitterness. You need to forgive whatever has ever happened to you in your life. I went down the path of bitterness, and it's not a pretty place. And so when you just let your heart be filled with love and just forgive people, it'll be a whole lot nicer journey. I don't know what your May 24th will be, but I do know this. In 1 minute, any of us here can lose our marriage. We can lose our child. We can lose our parents. And if